If you saw my live last week, you will know that because August is a time of lack of routine, of a lot of traveling, a lot of being outside our natural environment, this is a month where many of my lives will be dedicated to helping you get through this month, not only somehow not gaining weight, but also a little bit more freedom and being a little bit more relaxed around food and your food choices, and hopefully giving you some practical tips and also some skills and some mindset changes in this month of vacations and non-routine and traveling to really help you through August. So and that's exactly the thing. Like anybody who wants to make a lasting change in their eating habits, there are three basic phases that one needs to go through. The first thing is knowledge. You got to know what to do. You got to know how to read a food label. You got to know about, some basics about nutrition so that the food industry will not trick you into thinking you're eating something healthy when you're actually not. So, people who feel like they're addicted to these like sugary, hyper processed foods need to have knowledge about addiction and how these foods influence our brain and our bodies. So that's the first phase. The second thing that is critical is food principles, to have a certain set of rules that they're basic, simple rules that if you keep them, they keep you from obsessing or overeating, right? For example, in my program, GPS to Sugar Free, it will be sugar, flour, meals, set meals, and personal triggers. Those are the 4 food principles in my program. And then there is the third part, which is the actions and the strategies to apply, that one needs to learn to apply those food principles. Now, maybe after hearing this live, you'll decide on your own food principles. That's cool. But here I'm going to give you I'm going to go into the third part, right? Today, I'm going to talk about the third part, just giving you some really practical, easy tips how to, when you're traveling, maybe for your vacation, now your summer vacation, how to lower your consumption or not consume. Maybe you'd like to stay, if you're already on a sugar-free journey and you'd like to go on a sugar-free journey. Maybe you bought my Sugar Detox Starter Kit and you've already begun your sugar-free journey, and you want some tips how to stay sugar-free when you're traveling. So this is really going to be not about the mindset, which was what we talked about last week, but more about the practicality, like the actual what to do when you're traveling. We talked about the fact, though, that you can't assume everything's going to be okay when you're traveling. Our environment today, in not just the Western world, basically all over the world today, is really obesogenic. It is a food environment that promotes obesity and foods that make us sick metabolically and promote diabetes, weight gain, hypertension, and all the other crappy stuff that hyper-processed foods do. And that's the problem, that these hyper-processed, addictive, sugary, starchy, crappy carb foods are what's the most available, the cheapest, and they're sticking it in our face 24/7. Eat me, drink me, eat me, drink me, eat me, drink me. So how do we navigate healthy eating within that framework that we live in today? We just, hopefully it will change and regulation will start happening. But until that happens, we have to do what we can ourselves and be responsible for ourselves as much as we can within this hostile food environment for people who want to eat healthy. So that's the first thing, is we have to realize what we're up against. Okay. And don't underestimate the power of your environment. This is what I said last week, and I'm going to say it again. Do not underestimate the power of your environment on how much it influences your food choices. That is why my first tip will be for you when you are traveling, be it on an airplane or in a car or going on a hike, or just any time that even if you're going to friends and there's going to be food there, I always recommend you take with you something. Even if you're going to a food place or something, that where there's going to be food, I always say, especially if you are off sugars and flours, take with you emergency rations. Always take, I can't tell you how many times I do this basically every single time I travel, unless I forgot it at the door. And then I'll usually stop somewhere along the way and buy something to make sure that I have something with me. I cannot tell you how many times these emergency rations saved my butt, excuse me, when I was in these social situations and all of a sudden there was like nothing to eat. I'll give you a perfect example, okay? There was one time where I live in a small village, and they made something for all the women, an activity. We went jeeps, and then there was a beautiful breakfast buffet. And I look at the breakfast, and of course, I brought with me this little cooler with like an omelet and some vegetables. And I said, you know what? If there's what there is to eat for breakfast for me that has no sugar, no flour in it, wonderful. And if there isn't, I know that I have my backup. Now, why is that so important, these emergency rations? It's not just about if I don't have anything to eat, then I have what to eat, but also during that whole activity, I don't have to worry. Is there going to be something for me to eat when I have they serve the breakfast or not? Am I going to manage? Am I not? Are they going to have their salads? I am calm. No matter what happens at that breakfast, I have what I need. So it's also like there's such a huge connection between the actions you take and what it does for your peace of mind afterwards. So I had peace of mind during the whole Jeep trip. I guess you can imagine what happens in this story, right? I get to the breakfast buffet. There is absolutely nothing for me to eat. It's full of salads. All the salads have in them corn chips or these cranberries, or it's like a sweet and sour sauce that mixed into the salad. There was almost nothing there for me to eat. There were quiches with crusts that I don't eat, and I don't know what they put in the quiches anyway. There was lots of cakes and burekas and pastries and all kinds of stuff like that. And there was almost nothing to eat that was actually without sugar or flour. No problem, right? I sit down, take out my plate, take out my omelet and my vegetables, and I had some like tahini on the side that I put there. And like this one woman's like, where'd you get that omelet? And I'm like, I brought it from home. So this gives you like a certain peace of mind. And look, if you're traveling on an airplane food is some of the most hyper processed food there is. Think about it. They have to like make it look like it's a meal and fit into like an airplane box and be heated in an airplane oven. You'd really think that this is real food that they're serving you, even like what looks like. So this is going to be, you have to assume that any food that's served on the airplane is going to be absolutely hyper processed. By the way, when I go on an airplane, I take so much food with me. I take a lot of food with me so that I'm nice and full. That's what I do, because I always take an extra meal. Like, for example, if you're traveling on a long, road trip or a long air flight, right? What I usually do is I will take with me the meals that I need, and then I will take one extra meal, emergency rations, just in case, right? The plane got delayed. You had a puncture in your tire on the way. You got there and nothing was open to buy to eat, right? You got it to your destination. The rental car was like delayed. There, so many things can happen when you go on a really long trip that I always take like an extra amount of food with me so that if it's delayed, then I still have something to eat. And this is what I always say. I said this last week, I'll say it again. Worst case scenario, I have to throw that food in the garbage, but I did not eat garbage. And that is what's important. Now, here's another thing I'm going to say to remember when you are traveling. It is a general rule to remember, but especially when you're going out of your routine. It's not just about what you didn't eat. If you didn't eat junk, if you didn't have that ice cream, if you didn't, give into and by the way, when you have your own food with you, right, you're much less susceptible to give into all kinds of temptations because you're not hungry. And when we're hungry, we'll give into temptation a lot more. But let's say besides the fact why it's so important to bring these emergency rations is just as important as what you're not eating is important what you are eating. I always, I tell people, even, somebody who's like eating a lot of junk, if they're also eating, in addition to the junk, salads, vegetables, legumes, healthy proteins, healthy fats, that's still better than just eating junk and not giving your body the nutrients that it needs, right? So even people who, let's say, who can moderate these, like, what I call sugary, starchy, hyper-processed foods and eat just a little, still, when you're traveling, it's really hard to find nutritious food. So we want to make sure not just that our body is not getting foods that harm it, we also want to make sure that our body is getting the nutrition that it needs, right? The vitamins, minerals, healthy proteins, and all the building blocks that our body needs. And that's about what we are eating and not about what we're not eating. So these are some very effective practical tips. And basically, just to summarize it, the one take-home message is take food with you, healthy food with you when you are traveling. Now, sometimes, especially women, will say to me, yeah, but then I have to prepare for everybody, and I don't have the koach, like the strength to, we say in Yiddish, the koyach, right? Like the strength to start to start preparing for the whole family, kilos of cut vegetables and whatever. And I always say, remember, you have to put on your oxygen mask first, right? If all you have the strength to do is cut some vegetables and make food for you, be selfish and make it for you. Because making it just for you and saying to everybody, like, sorry, like, if they're older people, they can for themselves. And, like, the thing is, you have to make sure, if you're a mom of little kids, right? It's very, very important that your little kids have a mom who is happy with how she's eating and is not obsessing 24/7 over food and is not like all kinds of irritated and short-tempered because she's hungry or because all these like crappy carbs have been affecting her mood, right? So it's okay to be selfish and to worry about yourself rather than not having anything because you didn't want to make it for everybody else. So remember to put yourself first. You are responsible for your eating, for your healthy eating habits. If it's other adults or older kids, you know what I mean? They can be responsible for themselves. And in any case, you being happy and satisfied and calm and having peace of mind is also giving, right? Doing something for the people that you are traveling with. So have a great August. Enjoy your vacations. And here's my last tip for you. Actually, you know what? And I'm going to give you some really great tips next week about state of mind when we travel, when we go to these special events in August. So stay tuned for next week's lives. I'm here every Monday, 7 p.m. Israel time. That's GMT +2. Figure it out. And I will see you next week. Have a great day, a wonderful evening. Do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and also to check out all the really, really cool offers that I have in the links around this video. Take care. See you next